Welcome to the Her Vibe is Pretty podcast, where you'll be guided on how to step up into your evolved woman,
design your dream life, and start living it.
Let's get vibey.
Hello, it's Mary here, and welcome back to this week's episode of Her Vibe is Pretty. So today we are going to be sharing an interview and a conversation that I had with my friend Noel on his podcast, Enlightened Conversations. Now you can connect with him on Instagram at The Angel of Abundance. And he is doing some incredible things in the world in terms of opening people's eyes and opening their mind to what is possible in this lifetime, which is so aligning with the things that we talk about here on the Her Vibe is Pretty podcast. And so him and I had this really incredible conversation, and I just had to share it with you guys. We talk about so many different things throughout this entire conversation. We start off with talking about yoga and how yoga can lead you into your spiritual journey, which can then lead you into other spiritual and enlightening practices, and how you can take these experiences and start to apply them to your everyday life, and how our life experiences help shape us and help us grow and evolve and learn and expand. And it was just such an inspiring conversation. And it was one that after we had the episode and after it released and we did an IGTV together, I got so many messages from people that were just like, whoa, that was such an incredible conversation. And so I just had to share it with you guys. So get ready to enjoy this incredible conversation with Noel and I. And I would also love to hear what your biggest takeaway is from this episode. So after you listen, whether you share it in your Instagram story, be sure to tag me and tag Her Vibe is Pretty, or send us a message or leave us a comment. Anything, join our Facebook group, Her Vibe is Pretty podcast. Let us know what your biggest takeaway was. We would love to hear it. So I hope you enjoy this episode and this conversation as much as I did. And thank you so much for being here and for listening.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome. We're having an episode of Enlightened Conversations and have an awesome guest with us tuning in from the Michigan area here in the United States. And we have Mary Oshner, who is a yoga teacher, has an awesome yoga app, which we'll talk about. And she's the host of the podcast, Her Vibe is Pretty, and came across Mary's Instagram page not too long ago, probably less than a month ago. And reached out to her and said, I love your vibe. I love how you're sharing with humanity. Appreciate you. And asked her if she wanted to have a fun co-creation with me, and here we are today. So without further ado, I want to introduce you guys or reintroduce you guys to Mary, and you could share with the audience so they're more familiar with you, who you are, what you do, why you do it, all these good things.
Yeah, that was actually a very beautiful introduction. So thank you so much for that. But yes, my name is Mary. I am a yoga teacher and I specialize in beginner yoga. So I'm really all about teaching and kind of breaking down those barriers for beginners, because there can be a lot of fear around trying something new, especially something like yoga, where, you're wearing different clothing, you're putting your bodies in these crazy shapes. And for someone who's never done that before, it can feel kind of intimidating and scary. And so my big mission is just to get as many people to start practicing yoga as possible, because it was such a positive and life-changing practice for me. I remember when I first started practicing yoga and I was just blown away. I did not realize the amount of stress and tension and just tightness that I was carrying with me on an everyday basis. That was my normal. And then I took my first yoga class and it was the veil was lifted. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have to live my life all tense and worried and stressed all the time. This is amazing. And so from there, I just continued to go down that path, took a teacher training, and now I'm just trying to share that experience with as many people as possible.
I love it. And with yoga, it's super interesting. You mentioned it as well, because everybody is a beginner at yoga at some point, whether it's right now, if you are thinking about experiencing that, or if you've been doing it for years. We all were a beginner at some point, and I'm still would consider myself a beginner. And it's one of those practices that I respect so much. I respect all the different practices for different reasons. This one in particular, just because I'm a really good athlete and I played sports my whole life, thought I was going to play professional. Yoga has never come super easy to me. In fact, I always wondered, how did I go my whole career and never really got flexible? Like, how did I not like have
Right.
muscle pulls and like injuries? I have no idea. I'm just grateful for that. But yoga is way more than just like the physical part. And you even started to describe that. And it's fascinating because I've noticed people's like spiritual journeys or personal growth journeys start a lot of times by starting with yoga, thinking that they might just be going there for, to get more flexible. And then all of a sudden, like they unlock this whole part of life that they had no idea that they were going to go there. Did that play a part in your journey as well, as far as the personal growth side of things as well?
Oh yeah, 100%. So you totally nailed it there. I went into it thinking, oh, yoga's a cool, trendy workout. Like I want to get cute yoga gear and I want to get a cute yoga mat and all the things. And then I got there and I was like, whoa, this is so much more than just a workout. There's a whole nother, it is so deep, and we could talk on and on and on about all the different levels and the different limbs of yoga. But for me, I think it is such a good gateway. There is so much more, but you have to meet people where they are. And so people know yoga, especially in our culture here, in the United States, it's the physical practice, the poses, the asanas. That's what usually gets people in the door. And then from there, some people stay on that workout path and they just use it as the way that they move their bodies on a regular basis. But a lot of times people start to go a lot deeper. And that's exactly my experience. Started off as a cool workout. And then I just started noticing the mental benefits that I was feeling and experiencing. And it was starting to like bleed into my everyday life, into my relationships with my friends and my family and my boyfriend at the time and my coworkers. And I was like, I'm just a better person when I'm practicing yoga, instead of just like I mentioned earlier, like the stressed, tense, very impulsive person that I was before I started practicing. But I never would have gotten there if it wasn't for the physical practice.
So I love this. So now I get to, let's humanize you and maybe me a little bit as well, because like if you guys have been following Mary for a while, she's sharing like awesome the yoga, the physical elements, but also just a very just uplifting human being. That's initially what caught my attention and what I pointed out. And like we got a chance to connect really briefly on a Zoom prior to today. And what I know for all of us, and I'm curious with how this relates to you, Mary, as far as we all come here, every single one of us on the Zoom Live, or anybody that listens to this, whenever you listen to it, we show up here in this world as just unconditional, loving little babies. And like we're just bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, super curious, just ready for the adventure of life. And then if not all of us, probably all of us, but I'll just say most of us, we forget who we are along the way and maybe start comparing ourselves to others and wondering, are we enough? And the challenges of life that we all experience from, early childhood, all the way through. Now, did you go, Mary, from like, because I can tell that yoga like opened up some things when it comes to just knowing who you truly are and how to create and how to manifest the life that I could see that was played a part. But just previous, did you go from unconditional loving little human to already like knowing all those things and, yoga kind of just like took it further, or was it different than that? Did you at one point not know some of the things that you know now? It's kind of a silly question, but I like
I love this question. And it reminds me, this is a funny answer to your silly question. It reminds me of what they talk about in the movie Shrek, where he's like, we're onions. And we start off, like you say, these happy-go-lucky, we don't have fears, we don't have limiting beliefs, we don't have these limitations that we are ultimately putting on ourselves. But I find that as we grow older, as the years go by, as the experiences happen to us and we face challenges and we face struggles and we face these obstacles, that sometimes we can start to build those layers on. And yoga has been a tool. There have been many tools that have helped me on this journey, and I'm still very much on this journey of starting to peel back those layers that have started to build up through fear, through failure, through bad experiences. And maybe I didn't quite get the lesson at the time. It's something that I've needed to build and reflect on throughout my life. And so it has been a journey, and it's one that I'm still very much on. And I actually feel like I've been doing a lot of reflecting on 2020 and the craziness and chaos and uncertainty and all the things. And I feel like this has been one of the greatest years for me when it comes to peeling those back and to really diving into the things that are holding me back, that are like conditioned thoughts, conditioned beliefs, that sort of thing. So yoga has been a really cool tool to help me with that, but it's only been one. The other ones that have been game changers for me this year especially has been practicing breath work on a regular basis. I've always journaled my whole life, but I've just had more time to do it because I'm home all the time, especially in the mornings. Journaling all the time, the thoughts and things, and helping myself process through those, as well as getting really into meditation.
I'm so happy that you branched into some other, so here's the cool thing, and what Mary just described, and I want to point everybody's attention to, for all of us as human beings, like we're going to have life experiences. That's why we came here, like every life experience, because it's going to cause us to know even more, I really like this life experience, or don't really like that life experience, whether it's health related, relationship related, financial related. Like, this is why we came to have these life experiences. And we realize that we're always going to have desires for, enhancement, evolution in all these areas of life. And we might not know right in the moment of realizing, I have this desire for health improvement or relationship or finances or whatever area it might be. We might not know how it is going to happen right then and there. But what Mary just described so beautifully, even describing as this year what's been important to her, you guys remember it's the 5th right now. So it's obviously mattered to Mary to be open to her evolving in areas when she described breath work and meditation and all these things. So I always just want to remind all of us that we're always going to be evolving forever. Nobody's ever going to know it all. And so if we can be open for new things to show up, maybe it's yoga for you, maybe it's breath work, maybe it's meditation, maybe it's journaling, maybe it's, who knows what it is. There's so many ways for us to evolve. But if you're open to it, you'll be inspired by people like Mary and so many others that say, I want to have this life experience. And then maybe it's something you want to keep doing. Maybe it's something that you've experienced it once and you want to go experience something else. Either way, it's serving you, because how would you know what you like and don't like, what you want and don't want, if you don't have the experience? So I love how you explain that, because
yeah, well, and we're humans. Like, I think that is a big misconception that I actually held on to for a long time as well, was the idea that I need to be happy all the time. That's success. That's the goal. Never to feel stress, never to feel anxiety, never to feel anger or any of these bad feelings, but only happiness. So if ever I wasn't feeling that, I felt like I was doing something wrong. Something's wrong with me. Something's not right. This is not good. I need to fix it. And I've really opened my eyes to the fact that we are very complex human beings. We are going to have a full range of emotional experiences, highs and lows. The thing that I love about those practices, yoga, breathwork, meditation, journaling, and again, those are the ones for me. They could be anything for you guys listening, but I find that instead of living on this psycho roller coaster of emotions, I'm still gonna feel them, but I kind of have mellowed those waves out a little bit. I'm able to take the bad experiences a little bit easier than I was before, and they just don't feel so like life ruining, if you will, as they maybe did at one time before, kind of doing this reflection and work. And being okay with feeling like, hey, I feel like crap today. Like, I'm in a bad mood or I'm really anxious. Okay, feel that, lean into that. Where is this coming from? Don't try to avoid it. Don't try to numb by distracting yourself with other things, because Lord knows it is easier than ever to distract yourself from things with Instagram and social media and Netflix and you name it. But it's been really cool to just explore kind of the depths of the human emotional experience a little bit more this year. And we've had lots of experiences and opportunities to do that.
I love it. I love that you went there and that you shared all of that, because it's such a beautiful reminder for all of us that, here we are on earth, and everything that we see that is man-made, at one point, there was none of them existing on earth. And it took someone experiencing life without it, or lots of people experiencing life without it, but someone initiated, like, I would like to, for instance, Mary and I are sitting in chairs right now. So at one point, there was no chairs on earth. And it took a human or a group of humans to say, I would like to sit somewhere other than the ground. And so, or the big rock over there with my family. So here, we want to sit where we are, and we want to build something in order to do that. And, that started the journey of creation of chairs and everything else that we see. And so realizing that, like, to think that we need to be happy all the time, or love all the time, and that's not realistic. We didn't come here to experience that as humans, because without the challenging experiences, you would have no desires. And if you'd had no desires, then there'd be no creation, and we'd all just be here on this earth naked, because nobody would have created clothes, Like we'd have only the things that were non-man-made would exist. So we're all going to create because we're going to have more life experience. So we don't have to, and I love what you described with the roller coaster, because life for me was, and for all of us, is such a big roller coaster if we're not mindful of our energy and our vibration, which all the practices that Mary has named thus far, and whatever practices you have out there, whether it be yoga or meditation or journaling or breath work or whatever it is for you out there, what that does is whether you know it or not, when you're doing that, you're raising your frequency, you're raising your vibration, which in 2021 and beyond, we can actually measure that scientifically. So whenever you hear someone talking about energy and everything is energy, and if you find yourself being triggered by like, oh, here we go, the energy talk again, just know that in 2021, science can measure this to where in this moment right now, me, Mary, all of you on here, we're measuring at a frequency that can be measured. And you say, this is your energetic frequency here and now. And so just knowing that when you can start doing practices like Mary described, like you're raising your frequency, doesn't guarantee that you stay there all day. But if you start to practice being in those higher frequencies, call it peace, call it excitement, call it passion, call it optimism, call it bliss, call it whatever you want to call it. But if you start practicing this, then when a challenge shows up, it doesn't have to take you all the way down to, just down and out where you're powerless, depressed. And I'm not even going to say there's anything wrong with those frequencies. It's just momentum carries you there. Nobody goes from like happy, joyful to powerless and depressed in 1 second. It typically starts with you starting to get frustrated about something or irritated about something. And then momentum, as you continue to focus on it that way, can take you all the way to depressed for sure. But it doesn't have to take you there. It's not like a requirement to go all the way. It doesn't have to be like this. It could be a little more steady. So I love it. I'm happy that you shared that, because I love affirming that, because it's so helpful for all of us to be able to just know what practices are going to be useful for us so that we can make our journey a little easier.
Totally. And giving ourselves the permission that and again, that was a big takeaway for me, that a big learning lesson. And so I like to share that, because I think a lot of us can get caught up in that need to be happy and things need to be good 100% of the time. It's like, yeah, that's awesome, of course, but also it's okay to have bad days. Don't beat yourself up. Like it's all part of the experience, and yeah, if you have those sort of things in your toolbox, those practices, whatever they are, you're able to kind of get back to that higher vibe place a little bit quicker.
Absolutely. I love that. I have a question for you, but I love what Mary just said, like beating yourself up. I think I used to be one of the best in the world at beating myself up, because I had all these new like awarenesses. I would learn all this stuff, but I wasn't really good at applying them. Like I would get excited. I'm like, ooh, law of attraction. This is awesome. Like I know how to manifest now. But then I still was bringing the old version of Noel with me to try to do this new consciousness that I just learned. And I wasn't that good at it at the beginning. Like, this is why it's a meditation practice and a yoga practice and a breathwork practice is a practice.
Yeah.
So beat yourself up because you're not like mastery level day one. I've never met someone that's felt better because they beat themselves up. I've just never met that human. I've never heard that story.
Totally. It reminds me of something that we say on our podcast, and we joke about being grateful for the things that trigger us, because those are the opportunities for us to learn and grow and practice these things. You can, when life is good, it's very easy to be like, oh yeah, I do all these things. I'm happy. I know how to shift my mindset when I'm having like those bad days, but life's good. It's when you're in the thick of it, when you're having that really low moment and you're able to bring that awareness to that moment and be like, okay, I'm feeling really angry right now because of what happened. Like, make up whatever scenario you want to. I'm feeling this feeling right now. And instead of letting that be that spiral that just takes you lower and lower, when you get into the practice, which you need practice to do it. So thank you, life, for giving us these opportunities. Then you get better at taking that spiral that could go down and bringing it right back up. So we joke about being grateful for the things that trigger us to give us those opportunities to practice these things that we're talking about.
Everybody has the capability of doing what Mary described. If you can practice to the point where you can even recognize your challenges as things to be grateful for, like Mary, we all have the capability of doing this. Again, don't beat yourself up if you're like, oh, that challenge really took me out today. Like it's been a rough day. Get some rest. Like none of us are stressed out while we're sleeping. So a really great strategy, if it's been a challenging day, go to sleep.
Take a nap,
when you wake up, you'll have an option to continue stressing about that thing, which I'm not going to tell you you're a bad person if you choose to do that, but you can also choose to think about whatever else it is that you can think about as far as counting your blessings, the things that you do have to be grateful for, or And then you can get to the point where you even recognize the challenges as things that are sparking new desires. And that's the only way that you're going to create anything, any of us anyway. So I love that so much. I have a question for you, Mary, because I always love talking with people that they're actively daily, like they're creating things that they are passionate about and like being able to live their lifestyle as a result. And I know, your yoga practice has turned into, what you're doing here with a lot of your time here on this planet. Like you have an awesome yoga app that people can tune in with. And so how did you go from, because I know it didn't go from like day one yoga practice to now, like you get to do that. I'm sure you probably had other ways to like earn a living when you first discovered yoga, or how did that work out for you?
Yeah, for sure. So, I started practicing yoga. I think it was about 9-ish years ago now. And it was when I was working full time at a different job. I was working in customer service, and it was a wonderful job. Loved it. Had a really regular schedule. And I discovered yoga for the first time. And like I mentioned in the beginning, had my mind blown. I literally called my mom on the way home. I was like, Mom, you will not believe what I just practiced. It was so amazing. You have to try it. You're going to love it. And I got hooked from that day. So from there, I just started diving in my own, like signing up at different studios, buying books, like learning as much as I could about yoga on my own. And then flash forward a few years, I take a yoga teacher training. I wanted to start teaching, but I kind of didn't know if am I even going to like teaching? Because teaching yoga is very different than practicing yoga. So I took my teacher training, and then I was like working full time, and I was teaching like 1 to 2 days a week, if that, kind of like whatever sort of gig I could find at the time, because it was just like a side hustle, whatever you want to call it. But I knew that I wanted yoga to be a bigger part of my life. And so I had that calling. I had that calling for a long time before I took any real action on it. And I was starting to learn about online business, and I was learning more and growing more as a teacher, because if there are any teachers that are listening right now, you know that when you first start teaching yoga, you're very nervous. There's, a lot of uncertainty. You like just haven't really developed your voice as a teacher yet, or at least that was my experience. So I was kind of getting that out of the way, if you will, getting my wings before I just dove in head first. And then it finally got to a time, I don't know how deep you want to go into this, and I'm happy to share more detail if you'd like, but I basically decided, I talked to my husband, I'm like, people are making online businesses like all the time and all sorts of things. And I want to be one of those people. I want to have that flexibility to travel. I don't want to have 2 weeks of vacation a year. I want to have unlimited. I want to be able to, go to Florida or go to Hawaii or go to Europe and be able to work from wherever I am in the world. And I don't want to have that limitation of like, I have to be in the office at a certain time. I want to do things on my own terms. And I want to grow and create my own business. And again, this isn't something that happened overnight. This was years of me like feeling this desire. Like, I know I want to do more. I know I want to dive into yoga, but then on the other hand, you'll hear people that are like, you can't make money teaching yoga. Like it's like the artist thing. Like, oh, you'll be a poor starving artist. And that's what people are saying about yoga. Like, oh, you're going to have to teach if you want to make good money. You're going to have to teach 20 classes a week, and then you'll get burned out and all these things. And I'm like, okay, how do I start a business that gives me flexibility, that's around something that I love, that doesn't ruin something that I love? Because that was another fear going into it, is like, do I start a business around the one thing that is like the love of my life? And so I talked to my husband about it, just because I need to make sure that we're all on board in our household. And he was like, girl, go for it. Like, now's the best time to do it. So I put a plan in place. I saved up some money just to give me a cushion while I didn't have any income. And I knew that my goal was to create an online audience, and then eventually figure out how I can best serve that online audience, and then create that solution for them. And so how that played out for me was quitting my job in the summer of 2018 and diving headfirst into Instagram, creating yoga tutorials every day, taking the feedback I was getting from people about the tutorials, like, hey, I have a question about this, or hey, could you do a post on this, or how do you do this? And I was just, I'd create a post on that, I'd create a post on that, I'd create a post on that. And that's how I really got into focusing and niching down into beginner yoga, because as I just dove into the industry of yoga online, I noticed, there are so many insanely talented, flexible, strong yogis that you can find online that can bend their bodies into beautiful pretzels. And it's amazing and it's inspiring. But then a lot of people, myself included, look at that and I'm like, I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. Where do I begin? And so that's where I come in, because I am, maybe more flexible than the average person because of just my background with dance and cheerleading and now yoga for so long. But I'm not one that's going to bend into a pretzel. Like, that's just not how my body works. So I like to just break things down to make them very simple and very doable. And I just noticed that there was like a need for that. People are like, meet me where I am. And so then I got connected to my app developers, and they were like, hey, would you want to have a yoga app where you can teach your classes to anyone, from their phone. Everyone's on their phone all the time. Like, hell yeah, let's do this. So started with them. And then, flash forward a couple of years, that's really where we're at. I am, the one creating all the classes. I'm a one-woman show. I have a little bit of help now, but was a one-woman show for a long time. To get everything established and built. And, I have some partners that have helped me build the tech side of things, because I am the yoga expert, not the tech expert. And so they have helped me build like the tech side of things and the app. And so, yeah, that's where I'm at today. And really excited to see, again, I have like a few new ventures that I'm going to be experimenting with in this new year, but just want to continue to serve and help people get started, because like I said, that is my mission. Yoga changed my life. And I know that sounds cheesy and it sounds kind of cliche, but I am not the same person that I was before I started practicing, and in the best way possible. And I feel like I am just a better version of myself, that self that was there the whole time, but buried under all of those layers. But I'm here now and I'm continuing to shed those layers. And I want to do that for people. And yoga is a really insanely powerful and effective tool for doing that. So I just want to keep serving my people and connect with anyone who's trying to learn yoga and live their best life. And I want to help them get there.
I love how you share that. I'm super inspired to share something with all you guys in the audience. Make sure you tune in with Mary on her, and I'll have her promote this in a little bit, but I know you have a 14-day free trial on your app and all these cool things. So we'll promote that in a second. But the reason why I love to ask that question, and I love how Mary shared, is for all of us, like the process of creating the life that you want is the same for all of us. And it starts with, notice how Mary said for a few years, she had a desire to create an online business. And she didn't know she didn't know it was going to look like it did today, the same day that she had the desire. Like, that's not how the process of creation works for any of us. But every single one of you guys on here listening have a desire for something as far as how you want your life to look. Maybe you want a certain amount of freedom. Maybe you want to be able to travel. Maybe you want to help your family. Maybe there's things in your local community that you see that you really want to be evolved. Maybe for the whole planet, you might see things that you want to see evolve. Regardless, you have a desire. And the process of creation from there is the same from all of us. It's just, are you going to be open to the synchronicities of life, the things that we can never predict, showing up where you meet a person or you have a good idea?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get some of the most awesome ideas when I'm taking a shower, and it's just like today, like I'm just getting awesome ideas. Not the showers out there where you guys are like rushing and you have like 1 second to get in and get out and you got to hurry up. Not those, like the ones where you're actually appreciating and enjoying. And that's any area of life. You could be out in nature, you can be meditating, like so many awesome places to have. I call them downloads from the universe. But my point is, for all of you guys out there, like really, I encourage just to and use Mary as an example, because the way she described this was beautiful. Just be open to the answers of how you can create the lifestyle that you want, showing up. And so if you already know that you have a desire to create more health and balance and well-being in your life, and now you're on a live with Mary, and she has this awesome app and is showing people her example. And I love that you start with beginners, because that speaks to, like, I personally, I never say never, but I will never be able to do the pretzel things that people do. Like, I'm still getting used to touching my toes, which is a great accomplishment for me.
That. That's huge. I love that.
Yeah, and I've been an athlete my whole life. So, but this is where I am on my journey when it comes to that. So I just encourage everybody to really get in tune with what it is first that your life has caused you to know that you desire, and then be open to the hows and the wheres and the whens, and you inspire me with this as well. And what I ask as far as how can we see the things that, when it comes to me, what I want to see in the world is more people being able to spend their time and energy doing those things that they enjoy doing, whether those things pay them money or not, just being able to spend your time and energy. Because what I've been shown in my lifetime, and all of you guys have been alive in my lifetime too, is most of the things that people are doing currently, maybe they wouldn't be doing them if it wasn't for the results of needing the money or the,
right.
So my question is, how can we create a world where, people can have the abundance that they need, have the consciousness that they need to create the lives that they want? And that's, why I do the collaborations that I do and lots of other things. So I love the example that you share, Mary, and how you're, showing that as your example.
That is one thing that you touched on there. And I just love everything that you said, by the way, too. Very good. I, and I think a lot of people get really caught up in having to know the how that it's going to happen. I need to know how it's going to happen. I need to know 10 steps ahead instead of just needing to know the 2 steps ahead in that direction. And I struggled with that. That is, I will say, hands down, the reason why it took me so long to take action on the desire of wanting to start my own business, because I was very scared of not knowing what step 5 or step 6 or step 7 was. I knew what step 1 and 2 were, but I was too scared to take those because I was scared I wouldn't know what step 3 was. And I can say, I'm a very normal person. There's nothing that's everything I've done in my business and figured out my business and learned in my business, you can do too. If you are listening to this and you feel that desire that there's something calling you, you can figure this out. The hard part, this was the part that held me up for a long time, was having the faith in myself and the faith in knowing I don't need to know exactly how it's going to play out. I'm just going to show up and do steps 1 and 2 the very best I can. And I'm going to trust with my heart and soul that step 3 is going to happen. And step 4 will happen. And step 5 will happen. And I can tell you it will. And it's scary. That's a very scary thing. It was a very, very scary and unsettling thing for me to do, to not know what those were. But I'm so I'm just so grateful that I was able to build the courage to go for it anyways, because things do play out, the synchronicities. There are things that happened that I never in a million years could have planned on day 1. I could not have planned for getting connected to the people that I've gotten connected to. I could not have planned for the feedback that I was getting from people from the content I was creating, which led me down a path of the beginner yoga. There were so many things like that that sort of fell into place, but they wouldn't have fallen into place if I wasn't taking the next step that I knew to take. So I hope that makes sense.
It's so synchronistic what you just described. Literally less than 2 hours ago, I put a video out on Instagram, and the title is, are you in alignment with your desires? Right now, are you in alignment with your desires? And what Mary just described as far as having the faith that all any of us can do is what we can do with what we have from where we are. Nobody can act from tomorrow. You can't act from yesterday. You on the step that you're on. And we're always on step 1 in the journey of right now, because it's always a right now journey. So it's the step that you're on. And so to worry about step 3, 4, 5, 6, even when you get to those steps, it'll still be the right now step. So that'll be what you can do with what you have from where you are then. So
exactly.
to worry about all that stuff is basically, and not that you're a bad person because you're not in alignment, but if you're sitting here doubting whether it's possible, right now you're not in alignment with the vision that you have of what you want in your life. And the way that you know if you're in alignment or not is ask yourself the question of, if you were to snap your fingers and whatever you wanted to manifest was manifested here and now, immediately, poof, it's in front of you, how would you feel? What vibration, what energy would you be in if that was already done? Well, let's just sum it up. You would feel really good. You feel excited. You'd be optimistic. I mean, you feel something that you would label as, I feel good. You definitely wouldn't be, blaming or angry or upset or rageful or, that wouldn't be the frequency that you're in if it was already manifested. So to try to go on the journey and to manifest anything from the frequencies of total misalignment with what it is that you'll feel when you have it, it's just more challenging. It's going to be some more life experiences that may not be so pleasant, which we came here for that as well. Like we talked about earlier, that's just going to make your desire even stronger. Mary described it because for years she was I did this for years as well, trying to figure out the hows, and now you're doubting, and now you don't believe that you can really do it. So that's a painful energy for us to be in when we're doubting ourselves. And what did that do though? She also said this, it made her desire even stronger, that's the good news about any challenges or any rough energies that we experience. It just makes the desire stronger. Now, at some point, you're going to have to flip it over to getting in tune with the desire, actually doing what you can do with what you have, if you actually want to create it. But don't beat yourself up if right now you're, having a little challenge. This is why you're on lives like this. So you can be inspired to flip it.
Totally. Well, and those little whispers that we get, those little desires that we get, we call that like our taking inspired action. And so it's like you call it like a download, like you will get that sense of like what you should do. It's actually doing it and taking that next step. That's the hardest part for a lot of us. And so just like any of those other practices, when you get into that rhythm of paying attention and quieting the mind enough to get that inspired like intention or that inspired action, or like you said, the download, like you get them in the shower. I totally do too. And I get them too when I'm on long road trips, like when I'm driving on the highway. So I'm not like following directions, but I'm just like going straight, I'm in the car. So I'm like doing something, which kind of like keeps my busy mind, like you're driving, but then I'm able to kind of get those ideas on a deeper level. And there have been so many times that like some of my breakthroughs have come through when I'm either driving or taking a shower or in a breathwork session or a meditation session. Those are other two that I feel like I really get like some of the greatest ideas that I couldn't have just like sit down and be like, I'm going to come up with some good ideas right now. It's like, it doesn't work that way. So you have to start putting yourself out there. You have to start doing these practices and getting in tune with that inner voice and listen to what it says and what it's calling you to do, and then do those things. And then when you do that, when you put yourself in that position and put yourself in that energy, you're going to start getting what's the next step? It's going to come to you, but you need to take that first step to get there.
I love that. This is going to be super useful for someone, Mary, what you just described, because like where the reason that humans don't go from the download, whenever I receive a thought, and I'm just very mindful of the energy that I'm in when I'm receiving a thought. And so if I'm in a shower and I'm relaxed and I'm feeling at peace or I'm feeling happy and a thought pops in, I'm very much like in alignment with that. That thought came from, call it the divine, call it God, call it the universe, call it whatever it is that you resonate with. Like anytime that we are in alignment with that energy, which my baseline for that is peace and anything that has more momentum. So I'm excited, I'm happy, if I'm passionate. When thoughts pop in my mind there, or I'm relaxed driving like that, same thing, like driving long trips, like when I'm just relaxed. But when they don't come is when you're like in the middle of like cussing someone out, slapping someone around. Like that's not when you're like, oh, I just got the greatest idea to help my health or to help my relationship. That's not when the ideas come. So for me, once I know where it came from, then it's very easy to take the inspired action, because whatever it is, a lot of times I'll be meditating and I'll get an idea and then I'm like literally sending a voice note to someone that's involved with me in my business or any area of my life that pertains to, or I'm putting a post up on, or I'm going outside to record a video. Like it's all inspired action when I'm just following the downloads. The only reason that we don't and take the inspired action is because we're questioning, wait, is this something I really should be doing? Or maybe it's just me thinking that's, so you're questioning like that. So if you just get in tune with what energy are you in when you're receiving the thoughts, then you can trust it, take the inspired action, and that's going to lead to a life experience that you either keep going in that direction, or either way, you're going to have new clarity to where it's like, okay, I'm happy I had that life experience. I'm going to go this way. I'm going to tweak it a little bit. You wouldn't know to tweak it or go that way if you didn't have the life experience. So keep having life experiences, which will serve you in whatever direction that you're going. So I love that.
Love it.
Yeah. I always love to ask people like their vision, like the vision question as far as, because all of our lives up until now has caused us to know, I would love to see all of these things. So you've hinted at some of these things already. Like what are you excited about as far as what you want to see continue to evolve in your life, or business, or for humanity, or any area of life?
Oh my gosh, so many things. So a lot of mine is, I feel like the past 2 years, I've really done a good job building this foundation of what is my mission, what does my business structure look like, that sort of thing. So between the podcast, Her Vibe is Pretty, between the yoga app, Mary Ashner Yoga app, between my Instagram page and social media, let's just kind of put those categories as like the major ones. I'm all right now I really am focusing this next year on expanding and bringing even more value to those things. So for the podcast, for example, we started that in April, so we haven't even hit a full year of having the podcast. And so I've just seen the impact that this podcast has had, as well as our events and our different workshops that we put together have had on people. They're literally changing people's lives. So we want to just like double down on that and create as much valuable content for our listeners and for the people that are in, this Her Vibe is Pretty family. Same with the app. I want the app to be this like go-to tool for people to live their best life, physically, mentally, emotionally. So, this last year, we just added in breathwork as one of the features there, but I really want to expand the meditation section. I just want to expand like a mindful section. I want to make it something that is a tool that people can use throughout their entire day and isn't just something that's like, oh, I only go on there for yoga. I want it to be so much more than that. And then as far as social media, continuing to expand and grow, my reach there and just impact as many people, because again, you need to find your people. They're there, but you need to just connect with them. And so that's been one of seriously the most amazing things about this whole journey, has been connecting with so many people, incredible people around the world. And I was always really nervous because you hear about, when you have a bigger audience and you have a lot of eyeballs on you, like you'll get trolls and you'll get mean people and you'll get all these things. But I literally love every single person that I interact with on there. Like the amount of negativity is so small. It's unbelievable when you think of how many people are actually out there interacting with my content. And I love that. And so I just want to continue to grow that positivity and that community, because I just feel like, again, it's only been a couple of years. And so I want to see where I can take that. And so I'm planning this year on expanding and just connecting deeper, not only to the people that are already there in my audience through Instagram, through email, but I also want to start expanding into YouTube as well. So that's another thing that people have been asking for years. And I'm just a huge advocate of like simple Instagram is all I do. But I feel like now is a good time for me to take that next step into another platform and just create content in a way that can better serve on a different, in a different way, long form video.
I love it. I love what you said with your app too, to have people so where they can go there for, I didn't know that you were in meditation and breathwork in the app as well. I think that's awesome. Yeah. So that someone, maybe this day maybe they might do a little yoga, but then they can also do some other things to where they can tune in throughout the day. I think that's fantastic. A little quick breath work, if they're maybe having a little challenge that they're experiencing, like you might not be able to break out in like full out yoga session, but you can tune in and do a little meditation, a little breath work. I like that a lot. And I want to ask you too, because I didn't ask you about the Her Vibe is Pretty. Like what, because you guys aren't just talking about yoga on there. You guys are talking about all sorts of stuff.
We actually don't talk about yoga on there at all. Yeah, so Her Vibe is Pretty. We do have, I want to put this out there, that is not just a podcast for women. I feel like we didn't really think that through. We're like, this is a cute name, let's go with it. But we actually have a lot of men that listen as well. But the podcast is all about connecting to, we call it your evolved woman or your evolved man, which is basically like your soul. So every episode is about ways for you to connect to your deeper self, that true self that we talked about in the very beginning of our chat, and start to, again, peel those layers back. So that is really the theme of the things we talk about. And in there, we talk all about relationships and limiting beliefs and life distractions and everyday life and business and money and all the things. But we relate it back to that ultimate goal, which is connecting to a deeper level to your true self, your evolved woman or your evolved man. So yeah, we actually don't really talk about yoga that much on the podcast. Like there's not a single episode about yoga. It's all much more focused around mindset and life practices. And I highly recommend it for anyone that feels like they're just struggling, whether they can't tap into their purpose, or they feel like they're kind of floating through life, or they're feeling that desire, like I'm called to something, but I just don't know what the next step is. I don't know what to do. Like, this is the podcast for you to listen to. We've got an episode for you. I guarantee it. And then it's also just been really cool to build the community. So we just have like a Facebook group for the podcast, and that community just really blows my mind, how open people are. They share their wins, they share their challenges. Everyone's so supportive and so loving and so positive, and it's just a really safe space to explore this journey of connecting back to your true self.
I love that. That you guys definitely tune in with Mary on that. And I want to ask a couple of questions here that I saw one. If you guys have questions, like I'm not going to be able to scroll up and see all of them way up there, but you'll see a question mark on your screen somewhere, probably at the bottom if you're on an iPhone. Hit that and put your question there. But I do see one that I want to ask Mary and
Sure.
I want to share about, because this is really this is the message that I started the new year. So in the new year, I went into a meditation just on my own, just here. It wasn't like anything like special or like set up, but just my morning practice, a part of it. But the question that I kind of prompted going in was, what message could I deliver to humanity that would be useful here for 2021? And I delivered it into my community, and then also just for everybody. But it had to do with this question, which I'll hit on in a second. But how would you say this, Mary, as far as how do you stay disciplined? And this question that Val asked, she said, how do you stay so disciplined? How does that work for you?
So this is something that has been a shift for me that I've actually really worked on this past year, is shifting from this need to force my way there through hard discipline into tapping into true alignment and tapping into my why, which makes me want to do the things that I'm doing. Does that make sense? So let's just say I want to do yoga every day. Hard discipline to me is okay, I have to have a practice that's this long every single day. I'm going to practice at the exact same time every single day. It needs to look like X, Y, and Z. That's kind of my old way of doing things. And that was, to me, very rigid, very structured. There was no room for that inspired action in that plan. Where now I'm trying to turn that discipline into something that's more what do I want to be doing? What can I look forward to doing? If I'm not looking forward to getting on my yoga mat, why? How can I make it something that's more fun, that I look forward to, that I actually want to do, instead of something I'm just doing because I'm trying to force myself to do it? And so I challenge you, whatever it is that you're trying to have that discipline around, I would challenge you to ask yourself, what is your why behind, why do you want to practice yoga every day? And I'm just using that as an example, but what's the reason why behind that? And really feel that in your heart and soul every single day, because that why is going to make you want to show up. It's going to make you want to do the things that you're trying to be doing. It's going to make you put in the work, but not in a negative work way, but in a positive work way, because you're creating, you're showing up, you're doing the damn thing, and it feels good. So that's how I've been staying a little bit more disciplined.
I love how you answered that so much. That's beautiful. And that, for everybody out there, yes, if you can tune in with why you want anything, whether it be health, relationships, whatever it is, tune into the why of it. That will make your inspired action much easier, because you'll be excited to do it. Because if you truly desire it, you don't have to force yourself to go do it. And be mindful of the ways that, because a lot of times as humans, we think that we need to do it in a specific way to go make it happen. And it's just, we can be open to the ways. For instance, if you have a health goal, say you want to, look a certain way in the mirror or feel a certain way or whatever it is, it's not be your path to do what you see someone else doing on social media. Some of the stuff that people see me do, that would be miserable to you. I go and lift
right.
Crazy heavy weights and do for me, that's fun. But to you, I see people posting oh, I got to go to the gym today. That might not be your path. You might, you could find something that you really actually, enjoy doing, and that will be a lot more in alignment. But tuning into your why will allow you to be open to it. But here's what I'm inspired to really share with you guys, and what I shared on the new year. Let's call your reason why, let's call that the harvest that you're wanting, the actual result that you're wanting. So let's call that the harvest. And then let's look into nature for our example of how everything works. And say you're a farmer out there, and the farmer wants to have a harvest of crops. What does the farmer need to do? Our life is the same thing. The nature shows us everything that we need to see if we pay attention. So the farmer, to have a harvest, you're going to have to plant a seed. So if you want a health goal or relationship goal, there's going to be some inspired action that needs to be taken for you to have a harvest. The farmer doesn't just get to harvest without planting any seeds. But then what does the farmer have to do? They have to cultivate the seeds. They have to plant more seeds. They have to trust that the universe is going to provide the rain and the sunshine and everything else that's needed for the harvest to come. That's not our work, thank goodness. You don't have to decide all the synchronicities that need to happen, people that need to show up in your life. You don't need to to know, okay, I got to go to this coffee shop at this day and time in order to meet the person that's going to share the app idea with me or whatever. You don't have to script. That's not your work. So good news for us is all we have to focus on is the planting of the seed and having the faith that the cultivation process and eventually the harvest is going to happen in divine timing. Like that's not our work to do. So if right now you have a desire, which we all do, which we'll call that the harvest, but you haven't planted any seeds in 2021 just yet, don't beat yourself up for it, but just know that's going to have to happen if you want to have a harvest in 2021. So just get in alignment with that why, call that the harvest, and then find out what step you can take, do what you can do with what you have from where you are, plant that first seed, and you're off and running from there. Don't need that seed to be the harvest, but just know that's a part of the harvest, and then continue planting and continue trusting, and you have your harvest for sure.
Yeah, that's a beautiful analogy. I love that. And you're right. And it applies to everything. I could think of a bunch of examples right now of how that, because the other thing that I think people can get caught up in is, they want that seed to be the harvest. And it's like, we don't plant things expecting them to grow the next day. That's not how it works. It does take time and it does take different elements. And like you said, the universe is going to provide the sunshine, the rain, the nutrients from the soil. And we just have to do our part and show up and plant that seed and take care of it the best we can and that sort of thing. And it will grow into the harvest that we're looking for. So love that.
Absolutely. Can you imagine, those time-lapse videos where they go like really fast, like fast?
They're so cool.
Can you imagine a time-lapse video of an actual farmer planting a seed, and then the time-lapse went, and that same day he was out at the soil, yelling at the soil, like, where is the harvest? Can you imagine that? Like we'd be like, why does he think that's going to grow today? And so we do that in our lives. Like we get excited for something. We go have one workout and we go do one yoga session and we wonder why we can't do the pretzel pose. Why do we think that that's going to happen? Like that's nowhere in nature does that exist. So and just be easy on yourself out there. That's my advice. Just enjoy the journey of it. So find things that you can enjoy is my best recommendation, because then you won't really need the harvest to happen anytime other than when the divine timing is ready for it to happen, because you're enjoying the whole process of it anyways. So why do you need that so bad? So I love it. Okay, let's see what other questions that I want to ask. Do you have a specific morning routine? Great question, Julia.
Yes. We actually have an entire episode, podcast episode about morning routines. It's actually our most popular episode we've ever had. So yes. I will say it does look different sometimes from day to day, and it sort of shifts depending on kind of where I'm at and what like my life is looking like at the moment. But my morning routine that I would say is like my go-to, my favorite, is that I just wake up naturally. So whenever I kind of get up and at it, it's usually around 7:30 or 8 in the morning, and I will go down into our spare bedroom, because my husband's usually still asleep. And I'll go into my spare bedroom and I will do a breathwork session. And then I'll do a meditation session. And then I will come out, make some coffee, and I'll journal about anything that sort of came to me during that. And then sometimes I'll also sprinkle in some like inspiring reading. So I have a bunch of books that I kind of use, and I just sort of will pick one if I'm feeling the need for it. Sometimes I do that, sometimes I don't. But that's kind of my go-to morning routine.
I love it. And as Mary was describing that, I was just seeing, this is just how I see us as humans in the world. I was seeing her energy just going up with all of those things, like the breath work, frequency raising, then the meditation, raising frequency more. And then she's having a nice cup of coffee. She's journaling, frequency, like that's, so whatever Mary is doing for her day, like the things that she has on her to-do list and all those things. I had a guest on probably over a year ago now. And instead of just having a to-do list, they also had a to-be list, like how they were going to show up in that day. Are they going to show up peaceful? Are they going to show up, optimistic? So that was how they were going to be. And what Mary described as far as her morning routine helps her be how she enjoys being when she's going out there and doing the things that she needs to do for her day. So I'll share with you guys
having a morning routine, I was going to say, having a morning routine was a game changer for me. And it was something I struggled with. Everyone was always like, do it. And I'm like, ugh, I don't have time. Like I got to get to work, all the things. And during quarantine is when I got really serious about my morning routine, and it literally changed my life. So it doesn't need to be crazy over the top. Maybe you do a couple things. Maybe you only do one thing every morning, whatever that high vibe practice is for you. I highly recommend you pick something, some sort of mindfulness practice, some good vibes practice, and do it every single morning, even if it's just for 5 minutes to get started, because I find that I would like go to bed, like looking forward to waking up in the morning to do my morning routine.
I love that. Here's why you guys want to do the morning routine as well, as far as energetically. And until I integrated this, like I integrated a morning routine about 4 years ago now. Before that, like life was such a roller coaster because I was at the mercy of whatever it is the first activity of the day was. I looked at my phone and like there was like some urgent, like this needs to be done or a fire to be put out in business. It's like, now I'm like anxious to start the day. I'm frustrated. I'm irritated. Like, oh, I got to deal with this already.
Right.
It's gonna be a long day. Like we find ourselves saying that, oh, it's Monday or it's whatever. Like you're just setting yourself to have a really challenging day if you're at the mercy of whatever's going on in the world. Like God forbid you turn on the news or something, or I mean, just stop it. Like it just if you think you don't have time to have a morning routine, you don't have time not to. You need.
Yes,
this is going to help you. I promise you. Like, it's so important. And what mine is now, and it's been for years, is I wake up and I meditate, and it doesn't have to be like well, first I wake up, use the bathroom and drink some water because that is a requirement. Like I'm feeling like that needs to be done first, and then I meditate. And for the first year of meditation, I needed guided meditations. Like I wasn't equipped to be able to just decide to meditate and like do it. I didn't feel like I ever went into meditation. I could sit there as long as I wanted, and I didn't feel like I really got there. And so guided kind of trained me to be able to do that. But now it's like I'll meditate, and sometimes it could just be for 5-10 minutes. It's not, my practice is not like super long when it comes to that. But the point of it is to raise my frequency. And then what I do is to take it further. I have a playlist on Spotify. There's a high vibe playlist, and there's always a few songs in the moment that are the most high vibrational for me. And there's 3 that I've been listening to back to back to back for the last maybe 3 or 4 months. And like literally when I listen to music, because I'm trying to be as respectful. I live in a condo, and I'm trying to be as respectful as I can. I don't really have neighbors that close to me, but I like loud vibrations and I like to feel them. So I have this little beat speaker, and I'll literally play the songs like through my ear, like so the vibrations funnel through my body. And I'm like singing and dancing and like chanting gratitudes and saying affirmations, like and reading my vision statement. And all this is happening while high vibrational music is going. So I don't think you have to wonder what my frequency is doing the whole time that this is happening. It's just going up. And sometimes I might time it to where I'll be doing a presentation right afterwards. So you know what version of me they're going to get? Similar version of what you guys are getting right now.
Sure.
It's just one that is just super excited to share whatever we're talking about. So for me, that's my routine. And I highly recommend whatever it is that is in alignment for you. Because here's what happens, like throughout the rest of the day, there's no guarantee that Mary stays in that vibration or I stay in that vibration. Like you don't just get to like hit a vibration and then like say, okay, that's the one I'm going to be in all day. And like, you know, just like screw that in. Like, it's like, that's where it stays.
Right.
Like, vibration is always moving. But what it does do is if you put yourself in that vibration in the morning, and then you have that first anxious thought or worried thought or, you know, challenging situation, you aren't going to go most likely down into like the momentum of now I'm feeling miserable, because that first anxious thought, that energy is going to feel a lot different than how you felt after meditation or how you felt after breath or journaling. So you're going to notice it right away. You'll feel it in the body. Like it's not going to be like, oh, I've been in a crap mood for like an hour. No, you'll notice it after the first thought of anxiety or the first thought of worry. Now you have a choice because you're awareness, you're self-aware now. And you may choose to continue thinking about that thing in that way, and you're going to feel a lot different than you felt in meditation. Or you may say, I kind of liked how I felt after meditation and journaling. I felt a real peace. Like, you know what? And now you have a different perspective on that, whatever challenging thing is, because you're looking at it from a place of peace or a place of, you know, optimism or whatever you want to label it. So highly recommend that out there. And great question, Julia. Thank you for sparking that. We wouldn't have talked about
that. Yeah, that's a really good one, Julia. Thank you.
Well, awesome. So I'll ask you one more, because I know Mary has things that she needs to accomplish in her life and business and everything else. But let's see. Okay, here's one just for your app. I'll ask this. Let's put it on the screen. Do you think about also adding some healthy food and good drink recommendations as well?
Absolutely. So I am no nutritionist or expert in this area. However, I'm kind of starting to put my thinking cap on of how I can bring in some experts onto the app. And I have my developers working on a couple new features. So it'll make that sort of content when it comes to food, nutrition, nutrients for the body, very easy to consume and very helpful. So it can become that go-to tool. So some things are in the works, but that is absolutely something that is on my radar for the app.
I love it. What you guys have seen and heard from Mary the whole time in this conversation, and probably if you've been following her for any length of time, is just the openness to life evolving. Like, I don't feel any like rigidness to where this is the way that it has to be. And highly recommend you adopt that in your life and whatever you're doing, is just that openness, because life is so much more adventurous and fun if we're open to all of the infinite ways that whatever it is that you desire can manifest, because it can manifest in infinite ways. And most likely it won't happen in a way that you can predict. So what I've learned over the years is stop trying to predict it, because if it's never happened in a way that I can predict, the more that I try to predict it, the more I'm kind of like canceling out that way and canceling out that way. So you could spend like a whole like day or week or month or year canceling out ways that the universe, like, I'm trying to bring it to you, but you think it's going to happen in the way that you want it. And so I had years of this. I was probably one of, again, the best in the world at doing this. And I used to say things like, I'll be happy when this happens, and I'll be happy when that happens.
All
and
the time, yeah.
What I was affirming was, well, I guess I'm not happy right now, and I need this thing in order to be happy. So what we talked about earlier, my alignment, I wasn't in alignment with my desires. I was in alignment with the lack of them. So that was the vibration I was in. So that's what I continue to manifest. And so I love it so much. Anything at all, Mary, that you want to, like, someone could tune into this 100 years from now, and anything that you want to make sure, like, oh, I got to make sure that they hear this. It could be any topic, any subject, any area of life.
Yeah. Ooh.
Anything.
I love that question. Okay, I'm just going to go with my gut instinct that's coming to me. If you're listening to this 100 years from now, hello, I would love to know what the future is like. But my advice is that if you are feeling a desire to do something, listen to that desire. It is gifted to you. Not everyone else has that desire. You might feel like, oh, everyone would want this, but that's not true. Our desires are so unique to each and every one of us. And it is our jobs, in my opinion, as humans, to listen to those desires and take inspired action, even if it scares the crap out of us. So if you are listening to this 100 years from now and you have a desire, freaking go for it. Feel the fear, do it anyways. I've heard that quote go around, and it's so true. And I can just speak from experience when I say that your life will be so much juicier, so much more fulfilling, so much more abundant when you are living in alignment with that purpose, that desire that you are feeling in your heart and soul, than if you continue the rest of your life denying it and pushing it to the side and just doing what you quote unquote think you should be doing.
Such good advice. And Mary, you could easily be around in 100 years, like with all the things, life expectancy is going way up. And Mary,
who knows?
Yeah, easily.
We talk about that. I know my husband and I are into sci-fi and stuff, so we always talk about that. Like, oh my gosh, what's like, we wonder what it'll be like if there's like, so we just started watching The Mandalorian on Disney. It's like a Star Wars spinoff show, if you're not familiar with like Baby Yoda. And so we were talking about that, like, what if you can like travel to different planets in the future and like live on different planets? And that's like a very normal thing. And like, you don't have a car, you have a spaceship that like takes you around. And like, there's just so many cool things when you think about just technology and the things that we're developing. And I feel like, look at how far we've come. And I feel like it's only getting faster and like more exponential. So very fascinated to what life will be like 100 years from now.
Me too. It's all infinite possibilities, and I'm excited. And this is a great example. If you do what Mary just suggested, as far as just tuning into what your desires are and doing what you can do with what you have from where you are, taking that first step, that inspired action, like whatever you can see in your mind, like you can physically manifest. You can hold it in your hand. You can bring it into the 3D world that goes for, like, literally, if you can see a clear picture. Now, you might not have any clue how it's going to happen or when or any of that stuff, but you can also bring it into, but here's what I want to say. I'm super inspired by this. Stop asking other people for permission to manifest your visions. Like asking people, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? They haven't lived your life experience. They don't have the desire that you have. So really, they don't really serve much purpose when it comes to, you think I should do this? I don't even use the word should, like that for you either. Like I don't say you should or shouldn't do anything. Like if you choose to go out there and slap the hell out of somebody today, just don't expect that to be a love scene in your movie of life. Like it's probably going to be a drama scene for you. So you want drama scenes, go out there and live that way. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. And so, but do what you choose. But I see so many people caring so much about what other people are doing, which they have their own journey. They're all in their own journey. They have their own desires. Like that has nothing to do with, because nobody's lived your life experience. So for me, it doesn't matter to me what anybody thinks about what I am excitedly doing, because I know that we share a planet with almost 8 billion people. And whatever I want to see for me, there's other people that also want to see that for them. So I get to just be the vibration of that. And then you attract people to you that also want to see those things for them. And it's just fun because now all of a sudden, someone that I didn't even know exists, which by the way, every relationship that we have on earth, 1 second before you met them, you didn't even know they existed on earth. And they had lived all this life, and that could happen at any moment, at any time. So enjoy the journey. Like, don't look to other people for validation of your desires. And that's your desire. Just go on the journey and enjoy the process and do everything that Mary said in this conversation, and then it'll help you. So much fun. Well, I appreciate you, Mary. This has been a really fun conversation. And
yes, this was so good.
Yeah, I'm going to affirm this is our first co-creation, and we'll co-create again when timing is right, for sure, because I'm now just super excited to see what you choose to put your attention and energy on, because you're being the example of everything that you described here in this conversation. And for everybody out there, like that's truly the best way that you can help anyone, is be the example of what you want to see in the world. If you want to help people be happier, be happy. If you want to help people be healthier, be healthy. And you're going to inspire people to remember the light that they truly are. Be the light you want to see in the world. That's what that means. Like, be it, and then you'll bring other people to remember their light, and then they can go ripple effect and show other people as well. So thank you so much, Mary. And you want to tell the audience anything as far as how to tune in with you, or jump on your app, or any of this stuff? If you want to promote anything, please.
Yeah, totally. Well, so Instagram right now is really the best way to get in touch with me. So feel free to shoot me a DM or check out some of my videos. If anything resonates with you, just leave a little comment, or even letting me know that you listen to this conversation. I would love to hear what your takeaways are. But yeah, if you want to practice yoga with me, I have my yoga app, and actually now is the best time to join. So this is a little time sensitive, but for the month of January 2021, I'm offering a free 31-day challenge for the new year. And so normally those challenges are for subscribers only, so you have to pay to access them, but we have it open for everyone this month. And there are thousands and thousands of people who have joined in and are practicing together every single day for the first month of the new year. So that's really exciting. And then if you're a podcast listener, definitely check out the podcast, Her Vibe is Pretty. It's hosted by myself and then my friend, Sarah Harkin, and she is so knowledgeable and has really helped me a ton on this journey. So you will just learn so much from these episodes that we've created for you guys, and we're continuing to create more and more. We publish those once a week. So those are really the best ways to get in touch.
I love it. I love it. Well, I'm excited for all of you guys out there to tune in with Mary. Take the inspired action to connect with her if you're not already. Take the challenge if you're not already taking that. And it's just going to lead to more clarity in your life and help you go in the direction that you ultimately want to go. And you guys share this episode. So I'm going to tag Mary. I'm going to put this on my timeline, and I'm going to tag Mary in a story here in a second. And it'll be here on the timeline for 24 hours here on IG. It'll come out later on, give it some time, because I put them out in order as far as iTunes and Spotify and all the audio stuff.
Sure.
And then the video goes inside of the Universal Abundance platform, which is helping people enjoy their lives and uplift consciousness and all these beautiful things that we're doing around the world. So appreciate all of you guys. And thank you for the guys that tuned in live with us and asked questions and took the conversation places that it might not have gone otherwise. Really appreciate you all, and excited to root for you all out there, because every single one of you guys that manifests anything in 2021 or anytime, we all get to experience that too. So if Mary had chosen not to manifest like her vision when it comes to her app and everything else that she's doing, then none of us get to experience that and play with it either. So the world's not as fun. So we want you to manifest everything that you want to manifest out there so that we can all experience it too. And it just makes the world way more enjoyable. So I'm rooting for you all. Anything I can do to help you guys, please let me know. And I'll see you guys soon on another episode, Instagram world. And Mary, I'll say bye to you over here on Zoom. And
sounds good.
Guys on Instagram, appreciate you all. Love you all. Happy New Year, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.